Hello, my dear students. So, welcome to part 7 of practice string manipulation with one example. And today we are going to discuss one more problem. So, let's go ahead and see what the problem is. The question is somewhat like this: write a Python program to get a single string from two given strings separated by a space and swap the first two characters of each string. So, this was the question given to you in my previous video, where you have to enter two strings, maybe of 2 3 characters, whatever, and then you have to exchange their first digit and also concatenate each string with other. Okay, so again, as I told you, we have to divide this task into smaller steps. So first of all, we need two strings. We can take a user entry or we can use a simple static strings. So in our example, we can take a static string so that it is easy to do it, because every time if I am going to have an input, then I have to input those numbers. That will waste my time, and for a development purpose, I don't want to waste my time. Later on in production stage, I can always go for inputs, right? So first thing first, let's move to our PyCharm and try to write some code. Okay, so let's get started. Let me go to my presentation mode so it is more visible to you. And here I'm going to take two variables. Let's say v1 is equals to abcd, and let's say we have another variable called v2, and I'm going to give it, let's say, rstu. So my first task to declare two variable is completed. Right now, what next? The next is we need to swap the first two characters or interchange first two characters. So let us write a code how we can do it. So let's say we have a v2 is abcd, and it should have first two character from rs or from v1. So what we are going to do, we are going to just write somewhat like this. Okay, so now let us print this v2 and check out what is the value of a v2. Okay, let us run this piece of our code and check it out. So obviously we are getting only rs, rest of the rest is already missing, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to concatenate it with v2 and the existing value of the last rest of the character is I'm going to specify 2 colon, right? So this will be the rest of the string. Let's run this program and check out the value of a v2. So actually my first task is achieved, where we have the first two character from the v1 and rest of from v2. But if you check my value of let's say print v1, then what you get, you have rstu. And notice now, when after the execution of this statement, we actually lost a b, right? So what we can do, we can store this in a temporary variable. Let's say temp is equals to v1 before we do any modification in v2. Okay, and then what we can do, we can write a code for v1. v1 is equals to temp of 0 to, actually I have written temp wrong, let's change it, and rest of my characters should be from which v1 only. So that's perfectly fine, v1 to colon. Okay, so when you miss the rest of the part or the other part of the splitting or slicing, a complete string will be there. So after the second position, including the second position, after and including the second position, rest of the string will be taken from a V1. So that is T and U. So you are getting T and U from V1 and first two character from the backup variable, which is AB. Now let us run this program and check out whether I'm able to achieve that or not. So now you can see my first two characters are swapped, and finally we just have to add a space in between and have a string. Okay, so see how I have splitted my program into smaller subparts, and then I have addressed those problem one by one, and finally I'm getting this perfect solution. So this is what I was looking for, and hope you will understand this. That's what I want to teach today. And let's move to your another question, which will be homework for you, and you should be putting some efforts to solve that. So here is your question. Write a Python program to add ing at the end of a given string. Length should be at least 3. So if your string is of more than three characters, then you should be adding ing. And if the given string already ends with ing, then add ly instead. Okay, and the final portion of your question is, if the string length of a given string is less than 3, leave it unchanged. And here are some of the samples. The first one is, if a string is ABC without ending with ing, then you have to use ing at the end or add ing at the end. So it should become ABC ing. And if your string already ends with ing, you have to add ly at the end. And if your string is less than 3, then what you have to do, you have to leave it unchanged. Hope you got this and you will work upon it, and I'm really hopeful you are going to send me the solution before I give you the solution. That's all for the day. Bye bye and see you.